Oh, hey guys, you caught me going through Tyler's bills here. He's got just stacks and stacks and stacks of bills that he's got to pay. Parts anyways. So we're going to sit in my office. It's nice and cool, the AC, and we talked about doing questions and answers. You guys would ask some questions in the comments and we'd take note of those and then we'd answer them. And that's what we're doing today. We're going to go through all the questions. I'll answer them as best of my knowledge and ability and give you guys some insight into my life and answer some questions you have. So let's go ahead and get started.
So Car Wizard, Zaqua asks, why did you become a mechanic?
All through my childhood, sitting in school or church or wherever, I was always drawing pictures of engines or cars, or it's just been part of my DNA, I guess. I've always liked working on cars or learning about cars. Or ever since I was a kid, I was tearing lawnmowers apart and doing things like that.
So Morgan Carini asks, what was the biggest mistake you've made while being a mechanic?
Just like I just mentioned, the lawnmower. When I was a kid, I took the cylinder head off of a lawnmower, my dad's brand new lawnmower. It hadn't even mowed anything yet. I thought, oh, I'll take the head off and see what it looks like in there. Being that I was just a kid, I couldn't figure out how to get it back together. And for some reason, I stuffed grass in the cylinder. I thought that grass went through the engine. I didn't know any better. So my dad tried to start it one day, and he pulled the pull rope, and the grass flew out of the head. He was pretty pissed off about that. That was a bad day for me.
Deb Rent wants to know, where were you stationed in the Army?
I went to basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and after that I went to AIT, or Advanced Individual Training, to be a mechanic at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And then I spent my first duty station, it was also my last duty station, was Fort Hood, Texas, working on tanks in the 4th Infantry Division.
Jared Henshaw asks, how did you meet me, Mrs. Wizard?
So I actually met her online on America Online, back when you had the instant messenger and you would chat with people on the computer, and through chat rooms and whatnot we got to talking and had a lot of common, and pretty soon we decided to meet, and it just went from there.
Josh asks, what is your personal #1 vehicle if money was not an option? Not an option? Not an option.
Probably a brand new Rolls-Royce Ghost or a Phantom.
Daff08 says, how and when did you meet Tyler Hoover?
I actually met Tyler on a website called Peach Parts. It's a Mercedes forum. I had actually a 1983 240D. I was working on it in my own little shop at home. I posted pictures of the work I've done in that forum. And he was just getting started. I think he was getting started doing dealership. He had his own personal cars that he wanted worked on, and we got to chatting back and forth. And pretty soon I opened my own business. I decided I was done working for the man. I wanted to be the man. So I opened my own little shop, and he said, hey, I'll bring you my first, I think it was a Land Rover Discovery or something, I'm not sure, and it just went up from there.
A lot of people have asked, how do you find a reputable shop?
You have to ask friends and family, people who have been through the hoops and kind of vetted some of their own mechanics and found out who's a good one, who's a bad one. You can't go ask the mechanic, are you a good mechanic? They're going to tell you, of course, yes. Ask around friends, family. Have you been to any local mechanics? Which ones do you recommend? And go from there.
Are all mechanics good with all makes and brands of cars?
No. There's a lot of mechanics that all they'll work on is domestics, or maybe even Asians. They call them imports, is what they call them. But their specialty would be Dodges or Chevys or Fords, and of course they'll probably work on Hondas and Kias and Hyundais and Toyotas and things of that nature. But like at the place where I came from, that I was working at before I opened my own business, they really frowned upon Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, Porsches, They didn't even want those in the shop. They didn't even want to look at them. So there's different mechanics are going to have different specialties.
Is there something you should really watch for to push you away from going to a certain dealer or a certain individual mechanic?
If they can get to your work immediately, that's kind of weird. That means that they have no other work ahead. They say, we can get to it right now. Be kind of leery about that. Also, ask if you can just not really walk around in the shop, but take a peek and look in the shop. Is it organized? Is it just piles of parts and junk laying around, or is it a grease bucket inside the shop? Look inside the waiting area. Is it clean? Is it orderly? If it's not, probably the rest of the shop is not either. So, kind of just how you feel when you walk in. If you walk in there and it's spotless, like a NASA engineering room or a clean room where they put together the Mars rover, if it's that clean in the shop, you start questioning what is going on here. Cars are not that clean. Even when you go drive the cars, it could be a supercar, a Lamborghini or Ferrari, when they go take it to a show or drive it on a cruise with the guys. The environment is not even that clean. How can the shop be that clean? I would kind of question that.
Arthur B. asked, how hard did you find it to start up your own shop? And now that you're established, what is your work and home balance life like? He wants to open his own shop, but don't worry, he's not in competition. He says he's 2,000 miles away.
Well, getting started in your own shop, you might have notoriety with friends and family and different people that you're good at working on cars, and you start having friends and family say, hey, can you put an alternator on for me, or this or that? And at least that would get you started once you bought the shop and got your tools and got everything set up. But like my first couple of weeks, except for Tyler, I twiddled my thumbs and waited for the phone to ring. I put out advertising, I was in the newspaper, online, everything, but you still have a waiting period. You're going to have to plan 2 to 4 weeks of really not doing much of anything until one thing you can do is get friends and family and, hey, let me fix your car for you. A good thing to have is cars sitting out front. People they drive by, they see, oh, there's cars out there getting worked on. I'll go check that guy out. If it's an empty parking lot, it doesn't look very good either.
Ashton Knowles says, do you think independent shops will have a hard time staying in business with the rise of electric cars?
No, I don't, because although there may be proprietary software or things like that going on with the electric cars, they're still going to have brakes, they're still going to have wheels and tires, they're still going to have some sort of a cooling system, air conditioning, some sort of heating system, power window motors, there's going to be power seats, there's going to be all kinds of things there that an independent mechanic will be able to repair.
Gary Sarkisian asks, should I have a mechanic change my oil every once in a while since I usually do my own oil changes?
No, if you do a filter and oil and you're keeping up on it, if you feel confident with your oil changes, you might want to have a mechanic check your whole car over, the entire car once in a while to see if there's any issues you're not catching. But other than that, I think if you can do your own oil changes, you're doing good. Peter
Jahal says, he wants to know the annual maintenance for a car that gets like 500 to 1,000 miles a year.
Oh, the worst thing a car can do is sit. That just destroys seals and things. Once a year, if you only put 500 to 1,000 miles, you need to schedule a time of the year that you bring it in, then run the car, get it up to operating temperature, let it get nice and hot, see if anything's leaking, see if there's anything loose or any kind of issues with the charging system from sitting that long. But generally, you're not going to have too many issues other than just some sitting like seals and maybe the battery's gone down so many times that the battery's no good anymore. Or basically, just once a year, get it checked up.
Carver, it sounds like he's maybe only running it during the summer. Is there something he should do in the winter to prepare the car for winter storage?
If he has a large storage area where he keeps his car, maybe get one of those 4-post lifts and put it up on a lift, up and out of the way. In the gasoline, I'd put Stay-Bil in there to keep it fresh. Today's gasoline doesn't, 3 to 6 months, it goes bad. It can just start destroying rubber components, hoses, O-rings, and things of that nature. You don't want the gas sitting over the winter in your car. Put Stay-Bil in it or some sort of a fuel stabilizer in your fuel. The oil and antifreeze and stuff, there's really not much to do. Just before you go to drive it again, make sure everything's topped off and nothing left a puddle over the winter. Also, around your car, even in the cleanest homes, there's going to be mice. Mice can get in. They find a way to get into the garage. If they smell food or anything, they'll want to find a place to hide out for the winter. It's not uncommon for me to have cars in here and there's electrical issues, and I find that mice have chewed the wires. And I think one year when I was working at the place before I started my own shop, I think we calculated $15,000 that year just in rodent damage. It was quite a lot. So it does happen. Even to the best of people, it still happens. So put traps out or anything to catch anything that might be trying to get in and get into your car.
Okay, many people were wondering what your thoughts are on those oil suction machines that are at those quickie places.
Well, that probably just keeps from having to put it on a lift so that they don't have to. They just put the suction machine in, pull the oil out. Then they usually have automated machine. They set how much oil to put in. But the thing is maybe it may not get all the oil out. And are they putting the car on the lift and checking things out or looking for issues? Or are they just sucking the oil out, putting oil in? Maybe you're fine with that. Maybe that's all you want. And if that's true, I don't have an issue with the suction machines.
Tim Stinson asked, would you ever use an oil flush?
On today's motors, if you're doing frequent oil changes and you're keeping up with the maintenance, I would say no. If you have poor maintenance records or you haven't been keeping up with the oil changes, it's possible there could be sludge built up in the motor enough to where if you dump some flush in there, it could just break loose all of that and wreak havoc in your engine. I don't recommend if you do it regularly, it's okay. Or if you do keep your oil change maintenance up to date, everything's good, it's all right to flush it once in a while, but it's not advised if you've not been changing your oil as often as you should.
So Carver said this would not be something you would do with the Ford 5.43 valve?
No, I don't think that would solve anything. Most of these engines that I've replaced is because of poor oil changes, and if you take the valve covers off, it looks like Crisco grease all in there. It just looks horrible. And if that's all stationary, sitting there happy, and then you throw flush in there and knock all that stuff loose, what have you gained? You probably made it worse. I wouldn't recommend that on those engines. And I've been through that many times in the shops I've been at the past. Let's try a flush, and it never works. It never really does work.
Urbanski Teach wants to know what you think about oil additives like AT205 to stop leaks. Will they hurt your car?
If it's an old car that you don't care about anymore, what these do is swell the seals and make them maybe seal a little bit longer and buy you some time. But additives and things, I think the key is frequent, constant, keep up on your oil changes. I think that takes care of any issues. Oil additives and Slick 50 and Lucas, I'm not really a big fan of them. Some of my customers are. That's what they want in their vehicle. They demand to have it in their vehicle. They pay for it. I put it in. I don't complain. But personally in mine, I don't care for additives. And as far as stop leaks, that's a last resort. If it's an old car and you need it to get by another 3 months and you're going to salvage it out or junk it out, that's perfectly fine. It gets you by. It's kind of like the snake oil of the auto industry. There's just not a huge bunch of benefits with it. I don't find a bunch of benefits with it.
Jeff Harold wants to know, what's the purpose of those plastic covers on modern engines? Can you drive without them?
It's just for aesthetics. When you open the hood, you want it to look like a nice, almost, I don't know if you would say artistic, but a nice clean engine bay with just a cover. You don't see a bunch of wires, you don't see a bunch of hoses and stuff. It's really for the people who are not mechanically inclined. They open the hood, they see a bunch of covers, they go, yeah, it looks nice, and they close the hood. But as a mechanic, I've removed covers because I want to monitor for leaks. I want to check things out. I actually like the look of an engine. I don't really care for covers, but it's decorative. It's for aesthetics. That's what it's for.
Could it protect the hood lining?
No, in fact, all it usually does is make a home for mice to make a house. They climb up in the engine cover and it's warm in there, and I don't see really much of a benefit other than looks.
Josh Johnson asks, other than your caddy swap, do you work on diesels, specifically trucks?
No, we really don't get into that a lot. You know, here in this area, in South Central Kansas, there's actually shops, all they do is Power Strokes, Duramaxes, Cummins, all those different things. They have all the special tools, they're set up for it, and any of those customers I get that come my way, I send them to these specialty shops, because this shop's a European and exotic shop, and I do work on other common cars and stuff as well, but I don't focus on the big heavy diesels. That's not the line of work that I want to get into, and I don't, so.
Now, if you have a diesel and a Mercedes.
If you do have a diesel European car, then yes, I will be happy to work on it. But the big heavy duty 3/4 tons and stuff are just, me personally, I don't like working on the big heavy trucks. I call them finger smashers because you're always hammering or hitting or knocking something, and I just don't, it's not the kind of work that I'm interested in. I'm interested in more delicate work. I really shine with that kind of work.
Mikey Smith wants to know, what's a good source for Mercedes parts, or just any parts in general?
Well, there's Pelican Parts online. You can check FCP Euro online. There's all kind of, you can check eBay. There's lots of places like that. I personally have a WorldPack account. It's a commercial account. WorldPack is who would be supplying Pelican Parts and all these other people. But that's not something that you can use as an end user. It's going to be a commercial shop that has a WorldPack account. But there's several different companies out there, Scuderia parts or for exotics and things of that nature. Watch some of my parts videos. It will talk about that. As far as Mercedes-Benz and BMWs and Mini Coopers and things of that nature, I wouldn't, unless it's a belt or something, you're not going to have much luck at AutoZone or O'Reilly's or Napa or CarQuest, any of those. You might find some parts, but like with CarQuest, they can order parts through WorldPack. They'll say, no, but we don't have this part, but we can order it. But I skip that because I can do that myself. I can pay for the part what they're paying for the part. So, but maybe that's the only option you have. If it is, then that's what you have to do. But there are a lot of places online to get parts. So anyways, I was happy to answer those questions for you guys. If you've got any more, we will be doing this again. So we'll let you guys know the next video we're going to do is going to be questions and answers on a certain makes, certain models of cars, if you have questions about those. But if you guys see any tools in my previous videos you're interested in, check my Amazon affiliates page. There's all my tools for sale there. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already. We've got many more cool videos to come. And we just thought we'd answer some questions for you guys this time around, and maybe you can get a better view of what goes on in my life. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I look forward to many more videos with you guys.